So in order to install Windows 10 and Windows Server, you will need to first install the Oracle VM Virtual Box as well as the two ISOs. You can get that from any site from Microsoft or filecr.com. I'll leave the links in the description where you can get all of these here. So once you have installed all of those, let's proceed in actually setting up the VM. So firstly, you have to go and add the new VM. You can name it whatever you would like. And right now I'm dealing with the servers first, so I named it the Windows Server 2019. Then you will go on to choose the ISO wherever you have downloaded it. For me, for ease of use, I've put it on the desktop. Once you're finished with that, you click next, and you have to set up the memory. And you click next. You'll set up all the storage you will want, and then once you press next, you will see all the information, and you press install. Once you do that, everything is there. Then after, you will go to the network and configure all little settings that are shown. Once you do that, make sure everything is approximately the same, and this is only because we don't want any problems once the VM is started. Once everything is done, then you will go and start the VM, and it will take a little while depending on how powerful the computer is. And once everything is successful, it will start to do the installations. So from here, you will choose your language, then you will choose next and install now. Windows will do mostly everything here for you. From here, it's a straightforward process. Here you will choose which version. Now this is a very important. You will want to choose the actual desktop experience, because that shows the actual Windows 10 GUI and it's easier to use. From there, you will go and choose custom install, and then you have unallocated space, so you need to create a new drive and click the one that has the most storage, and then press next to install the actual Windows. This process here will take a little while, so just let it run and it will automatically install and restart and everything, and then you will boot up with the actual setup screen to go into the server itself. So as you can see here, it's getting all the devices ready, and this process again will take a little while. Right, so once the system has boot up, we don't have a product key, so we will do this later. And once you have clicked that, you will be prompted to put in a password, and the password, you will need to make it complex, meaning that you need to have capitals, commas, a number, or any kind of symbol. Make sure to remember these passwords so you won't have to go through the trouble of trying to reset it. And this is an example of what it would be like if you don't use any of those complicated things. So once you have successfully put in the complicated password, capitals, commas, numbers, symbols, once you have done all those things and you press finished, it will finalize your settings, and there you go. We have Windows Server 2019. So once you have put in the same password you have just input before, you will be launched into the actual home screen. And here we are, the Windows Server 2019. By default, Server Manager comes up on start. That's fine, you can leave it as is. You don't need to interfere with anything with that at the moment. So now we are going to try to install Windows 10, and this will be our client server. Ideally, the process for the client server is exactly the same. You will just want to go back to your VM. You want to click new, rename it. I have named it Windows 10 client. You would look for the ISO, the Windows 10 ISO, or you can use any Windows you want, but we are using Windows 10. We will set our memory, set how much CPU cores that we want to use, we set our storage, and this is an overview of what exactly the system we configured. Again, we will go back to our network. We're changing the network type to host only adapter, and in advanced we will just make sure all these settings are there as you see on the screen. And once everything is set up, then you will click start and the process repeats again. So here the system will try to boot up. Once successful, it will go straight into the actual Windows installation. So as you can see here, it's successful. So now we just have to go through the same process again, and we will click next. So we click next, and now we click install now. From here, the setup is ideally the same as before. It's going to do the whole startup setup process. You accept the actual thing, choose your custom storage, you create your partitions, and there we go. From here it's straightforward. The entire Windows will do everything else from here. Right, so now that Windows has been installed, we will click our language, our keyboard inputs. They're asking for another one. We don't need to. At the moment, we don't have any network, so we will continue without a network. Continue with a limited setup because we don't have an active internet access connection. Now we're going to name the PC itself. Now this is the client, so I will name it my name and press next. Again, this is another password that we will have to do. This one doesn't have to be as secure as the Windows Server, however it is still good practice to do so. So once you've put in your password, you will have to confirm your password, then you press next again. Then you'll be prompted to answer, well, to make up 3 security questions. You can do this at your own choosing, whatever you want. For the purposes of this tutorial, I just did random things. Yeah, just put Bob for everything. Anyway, once you press next, you press accept for all these privacy settings. These things don't really matter as much. You can read it through and see what you don't want. It's up to you entirely. Once you've done all those things, you'll be greeted with the welcome screen. This here will take a little bit of time as well, but not as long as the installation. And once this is finished, then you will be onto the actual home screen. And we're almost there, and here we are into the actual home screen of the Windows. Now I do not have a genuine copy of Windows because I didn't directly download it from Microsoft, but for the purpose of this tutorial it wouldn't matter because of the stuff I will show you in future videos. But that is all for this tutorial of installing Windows 10 and Windows Server 2019 using Oracle VM. Stay tuned for the other video where I show you how to connect the Windows 10 client machine to the Windows Server 2019.